Kia ora, everyone. Welcome to our 10th FLINT Talks podcast. Reaching 10 is a huge milestone. It's said that not many podcast episodes do this. So, congratulations to us, Caitlin. And the topic for the 10th is a huge one. And it's very timely because we've got, in my situation, 60% of my friend group that have left. And we are debating whether it is good to stay in New Zealand for a variety of reasons, such as career, lifestyle, finance, family, or you move overseas for those same exact reasons. And we talk about them in both sides. So really important information if you're considering this. Stay tuned. Awesome. Well, kia ora, everyone. Welcome to number 10 of Flint Talks. It's crazy that we've actually done 10 and we haven't been consecutive. We did miss out last month, with the craziness of the winter approaching and everything coming together. It got to us and the team. So we had to take a bit of a break, but we're back. And we're back for a very interesting conversation. And it's just me and Caitlin this time to talk about a very interesting topic, which is do you stay or do you go in terms of moving overseas or staying in New Zealand? Because I don't know about you, Caitlin, but like I feel like 60% of my friend group have already left overseas. And so the first question that I have, essentially, we'll get straight into it, is like what is even the advantages in terms of careers for staying versus moving?
Yeah, really interesting that you say that so many of your friends have moved overseas because barely any of mine have. I've had a couple think about it, and some of them are kind of trying to put a plan into place. But yeah, it's a few of them moved like straight after high school, straight after uni, so 5, 6 years ago. But recently, definitely it's been a little bit more the grass is greener where we are, I think, in the minds of, well, my friends at least. Career opportunities. I guess it's really hard to move overseas and kind of jumpstart. Those friends I had that did move, they did a year of hospo jobs while they were trying to figure out where they wanted to end up or kind of even what industry they wanted to get into when they were overseas, whether their training that they had here even corresponds to the work over there or not. Whereas the friends that have stayed or the ones that are here, we've become management, we've progressed our careers, we've gone back to study, we've done all this stuff without needing to kind of take that step back. So there are pros and cons, definitely. And for me at least, staying has been great. My career progression's been going really well, which has been, I guess, if I left, it wouldn't have. So hard
I
to tell that.
yeah, I mean I totally agree. It's very interesting that you say with your friend group, majority have stayed because I guess the friend groups that I've had, they've been very interested always to either go to Europe or Australia, the common patterns that New Zealand, young New Zealanders always go into. And I th always thought my whole life that I was the same. And I still think it's an amazing opportunity to go overseas because what you do is you get such a huge grasp of different cultures. You scramble your whole life algorithm, and then you get networks that are so deep in different areas. So I totally see the value, but why have I stayed? Like, and why am I still here in New Zealand? I think staying in New Zealand in terms of the career question is it's a lot more powerful if you know how to network. Because this is like the biggest kind of like realization that I had when I went to an Auckland Young Professional meetup, and there was a guy that was there from the US, and he came in to this meetup and he was like talking to me and he said, dude, you don't know how lucky you are in New Zealand to go to a networking event and have access to a CXO or have access to a manager or have access to like someone really high up in whatever industry you're interested in, that you can just have a simple conversation and they'll get to know you and actually care enough to know about you. Even though you're a young professional or graduate that has no idea what they're doing with life, you still get access to that. If you go to the US, a networking event, you got 1,000 people that are all graduates fighting no CXO, no important person would ever show up. And so like how do you even grow in that area, right? And so I think that's powerful because in New Zealand especially, it's who you know is what you know, and it's what you'll get in the job. So like yeah, I but what are your thoughts on that? I guess that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. We've been so lucky with some of the events that even we've just hosted through the Flint team. Our Meet the CXO one that we do coming up soon in a couple of months, actually. We get a small group, five, six people to sit down with someone in a C-suite position and ask them about their career, ask them about their lives. When would we ever get the opportunity to do that in a country that's 20 times the population size?
Yeah.
And I definitely just from like talking to some of our customers overseas, the teams that are working lower down, they have never met their CEOs and things of their
Yeah.
companies. And like for me, mine works three desks away from me in the
Yeah.
office. So I do think that we're really blessed with that kind of, what is it, 2 degrees of separation or
Yeah.
whatever it is that we've got in New Zealand, because yeah, we get the opportunity to talk to people that could be our bosses one day or could be investors in our own businesses one day, or it could be mentors that we could just meet in passing on the street that we'd never see in any like way of life if we
Yeah.
were yeah in a much bigger country. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think has helped my career as well.
Yeah, I totally. And it's not to say that you won't get that overseas, but you definitely do start from, I guess, a ground zero approach when it comes to that. And maybe the life experience that you get getting access to a larger market, maybe more scale, a greater diversity of people and professionals. Maybe it's actually worth to take that zero start and then move on. But I definitely, within the lens, and this is obviously a very biased lens, and the two people that want to stay in New Zealand are talking about whether you should stay or go, but I'm trying to argue the other side. The reason why I'm still here is because I am starting like my own business, and I find the network that I get through that is far greater, that can put me in a pedestal to then go overseas. Because the goal is always actually for me to go overseas. I don't know about you, Caitlin, but I think in order to really like grow, you need to expand your horizons.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's why New Zealanders, especially being stuck at the bottom of the world, we do travel so much. Everyone goes overseas for a few months at a time, 6 months at a time, a couple of years at a time. And whether they come back or not is completely up to them. And a couple of years ago, I was definitely looking at moving to the UK. My dad immigrated from over there, so I have the passport, which means I don't have to worry about the working visas or anything like that, thankfully. And so it was a really I don't even know what words I'm trying to say. It was a
Viable?
very, yeah,
Yeah.
opportunity that I genuinely thought could work. And because I still have a lot of family over there, getting set up, I wasn't going to be completely alone. I was going to have a place to stay while I get everything organized. I could move around to a few different cities and figure out which one I actually liked the most before I settled. So it was going to be something that, and my degree and my work experience is quite broadly applicable across different industries. So there was the opportunity there that was a real opportunity I could take. But I kind of was just thinking about the life I've created here and like built for myself. I really enjoy my life. I love
Yeah.
the friends I've got. I love going for the walks down to the beach, which is only a few k's away from where I live. I love the amount of park space and greenery we've got. I love that I can go down and just grab a seat at a cafe and have my cup of tea and see someone that I know walk past and have a chat to them. Like that kind of thing is for me what I would miss the most. And even the work opportunities, the being able to get more money wasn't enough for me to be willing to give up that kind of social aspect and the comfort that I've created for myself.
That's that's amazing because you right there you just practice gratitude, right? And a lot of people that move overseas gain that gratitude that you already that they only gain that once they're overseas, right? They go and see and they see, whoa, like the economy of scale is huge. It's different. People are like fighting and surviving, and there's so much more poverty and by that same nature, so much more elitism and class. And then you're like, wow, like we really have it easy in New Zealand because in order to compete in that market, I have to work way harder than what I usually would, which would compromise my quality of life, right? And that really segues into our next like kind of points, which is like lifestyle and work balance, right? Because over there you just expressed you really like New Zealand, renowned for its high quality of life, beautiful landscapes, and the society that actually has a real balanced focus on work life. You know, you people are clocking off at 4:30 on a Friday, and you can say, hey, I'll finish it tomorrow, and they're okay with that, right? Like it's not, whereas overseas, what is the exposure to different cultures may give you the, no, you need to do it today, or it's a bit more strict in terms of that work-lifestyle balance. So I want to ask the question to you, like, what are your thoughts? Would you even be able to go and survive in a market like that if you did? I'm sure you would, but I'm just saying, like, are you in the comfort zone right now is the question I'm asking.
I I guess I'm also very lucky with the job that I have, that we are quite relaxed. Working in the online learning space, nothing is overly time critical. Like, no one's going to die. We're not going to
Yeah,
lose someone millions of dollars if we get something done tomorrow instead of today, kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that kind of, it has to be done. Stay 4 hours late of your night to get it done doesn't exist in my world, and I wouldn't want it to exist in my world. That's not to say I don't work a few hours extra here and there if we've got preparing for a conference that's coming up, or we've got a big customer coming in and I need to prepare the slides for the meeting or something. Like, I'll do what I need to do, but I work to live. I don't live to work. And definitely if I'm in a company with thousands of employees that is facing the layoffs or the redundancies or whatever that everyone's going through, you're expected to work to fight for your spot. And like, I don't want to do that. I just want to get my pay, go walk the dog, have my nice dinner, and enjoy my time. I don't want to be fighting tooth and nail just to have a spot at my desk next week.
I agree with that as well. Like, and it's also one of the reasons why I'm in New Zealand. It's because in order, I'm also doing full-time work, right, with as a software engineer, and New Zealand is the only place that you can do full-time work and have the time to start your own side hustle. I couldn't even imagine like the pressures that I would face if I was to do something like competitive overseas. Maybe the Australian markets, if we like are being specific, could be like it's very similar to New Zealand, just
Mhm.
New Zealand scaled up into the millions, if you think. But if I went into, let's say, the European market or even the US, and there's like literally a statistic that shows that the US worker is 1.5 times more productive and valuable than a New Zealand employee. But the lens in which this metric was created was based on pure money and capitalism, right? So
Mhm.
if you view it at that point of view, yeah, like a US citizen that is a software engineer would produce way more than what I would do. 100% hands down. But do they have a better quality of life? Up for debate. It's so yeah, I want to definitely move on to then the financial side because I think we're a good
Mm.
segue into that. So then over here, how do you find your cost of living? And because even despite this incredible period that we're in, which is high inflation, a lot of unemployment, redundancies happening, especially to combat that, people are still deciding to move overseas. Is it because they're going for potential higher salaries? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I hear all the time that Australia pays more than New Zealand, and that probably is the case depending on the industry you're in. Definitely for the medical industry, nurses are always going over there because they get way more benefits and things. But is it enough to uplift your whole life? Have to either try and buy a house or find a new place to live? And what is the cost of leaving that people don't
Mm.
often consider? You might have a nice car, but the value of selling it is 20 grand less than when you bought it. So are you losing that money, or have you already calculated it into depreciation and it's fine? When you go over there, are you going to buy the exact same model for the exact same price you sold it, or are you going to have to pay more because of the different markets and the different supply and demand and things? And while obviously our supermarkets have gone very crazy with the duopoly, and prices have skyrocketed. I was in the UK this time last year, and while yes, their food was cheaper in terms of fruit and vegetables and meat and things, but other things were the same. Like shampoo and conditioner and things, when I calculated it, cost the same as it did here. And you'd think that would be so much cheaper because they've got millions and millions more people, so they'll be selling so much more. But the cost isn't actually that much different. I was just My main calculation everywhere I went was how much a gin and tonic cost me. Um, and a little pub up north, I could get one for £2, £3, which is 5, 6 New Zealand dollars, so about half the price. But then I was in a little pub in a little town up north where I would absolutely not want to live. In London, in Edinburgh, they were similarly costed to New Zealand. So I was kind of like, I'm fine paying this because it's about the same price, but it also cost me thousands and thousands of dollars to get there to pay the same amount for my G&T. So I don't, the cost of living, I think, is people don't take into account the cost of moving to get that decreased cost of living.
Yeah, it's really powerful that you frame it like that because I actually didn't like it's a really good point you make. It's what's the cost of leaving, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, cost of living. Great. You earn more over there." And yeah, maybe it offsets a bit, but then it's I didn't even think about like the depreciating values of my assets and all that. So that's a very analytical view. That's awesome. I my view in particular is yeah, like you have to consider it's very subjective. So you have to consider the market that you're entering. So I'm going to talk obviously within the lens of a software engineer. If I went to the Australian market, I could get paid more, 100%. Tech gets paid way more over there. The scalability is great. And I could actually have a better life in terms of finance. But if I went to a different market, to let's say the European market or the US market, I'm dealing with a lot of competitive pressures. And in fact, there's an influx of engineers that already exist there. And so basic supply and demand means that I'm going to actually earn less. Even though the conversion rate of a pound is higher, you end up still like going overseas, earning maybe the same amount that you did in New Zealand, but now you're in a crazier like cost of living situation. And so there's actually a lot of financial considerations that has to be done, both personally, and that's only you. If you then include a partnership that you're in with, like if you have a someone that you want to live with, or you're going into a flatting situation, or just anything else, it exponentiates in its like financial considerations. And so I definitely think moving overseas, you are definitely going to take a hit financially. But the value that you get when you experience a different culture and you learn about yourself and others and you gain gratitude outweighs the financial like weight for sure. And so if I had to argue the other side, it would be worth. Like, and it was the same consideration I made when I moved over, still within New Zealand, but I moved from Auckland to Christchurch to study at uni. I could have saved infinite, I mean, not infinite, I could have saved a lot of debt in my student loan, but I would never trade that because of the experience I got. So,
Oh, yeah, I absolutely agree there. While I didn't move quite as far, I moved down to Hamilton, which sounds, yeah, but yeah, and like you, I had to pay rent while I was there, whereas if I'd stayed in Auckland with my family, I would have saved money and things. But yeah, taking that step out of home, becoming more of an adult, getting to experience life on my own, definitely invaluable. And I think it that was also part of the reason why I wasn't as keen to go overseas straight away, is because I'd kind of already had that step into life and started experiencing things for myself. So that itch that I guess a lot of people have about wanting to do something new straight out of high school is usually because they've never left home before, and they just take it to the extreme by moving to a different country at the same time.
yeah.
Um, but like that's the other thing. if I was to move overseas, my family's all here now, except for the extended family that are still in the
Mm.
UK, all my dad's cousins and things. But my grandparents are here, my parents are here, my brother's here. My cousins have moved to Australia and they love it over there, but they're still close. And then it's all of the family that you build that might not actually be blood related. People
Yeah.
that I've grown up with. One of my best friends that I met on the first day of primary school still lives 20 minutes away from me and we see each other all the time. And she's actually in the UK at the moment, which is a funny time to have this conversation. But she's only gone for 2 months. She's coming back. But and that kind of thing, I wouldn't see her for years if I moved overseas. And it's kind of like, would that affect how I feel, who I am as a person? I think it would. Like, I'm such a social person that I would definitely feel very lonely. Like, sure, I'd make new friends and things, but uh, you
Yeah.
don't just want to become internet friends with the people that you've grown up with. And I'm sure you've probably got similar feelings about leaving your family and things, yeah?
Yeah, oh, I totally agree. Like the family and social ties that we've built in New Zealand is definitely a very hard thing to leave. And it fundamentally comes down to what is the true like purpose and essence of the human experience. And this is a study, by the way, an 80-year study, a Harvard study that tracked someone's birth all the way to their death, went through multiple directors. You probably heard me talk about the study all the time, Caitlin. But for those that are listening and haven't, it's a study on happiness. And the key indicator of happiness was one, like you have to exercise, keep your body in a healthy state, obviously. But the biggest one actually was human connection, right? So the question is, if you are moving overseas and you are compromising the family and friends that you have built here, and you're okay with that because you're going to. I definitely don't agree if you're compromising family, but I understand friends come and go, right? So if you're deciding that friends in New Zealand are going to be temporarily paused and you go and experience some new friends overseas and gain that human experience, then by all means do that. But if you are moving overseas and you are not gaining the friends over there, but you have now put yourself in a situation, now you're still trying to connect with friends back at home, then the quality of life overseas is not going to be as good. And the second is as you get older, you get more lonely, right? Like that. It's you spend more time with your partner, more time then alone towards the later years of your life, and friends and family, they slowly start going down and down because your mum and dad they come to time. It's as hard as it is. And if you move overseas, you actually have now consider it. If you only come back every Christmas and every New Year's or like every 6 months, then you only have like a handful of days before you get to see your family before they leave this life. So it's a very like sober kind of like hard thing to think about, but you should consider this if you're going to move overseas and a family really and friends really mean that much to you. So I totally agree with that, Caitlin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've covered so many things in this chat already, but the other thing to consider is, why do you feel like you need to leave? And that's a question I've
Ooh.
always thought.
Yeah.
People are like, yeah, I really want to go overseas. And it's like, is it because you're not happy with the life you've got here? Or is it because you think that there's genuinely opportunities somewhere else for you? Because if you're not happy with your current life, like that's a you thing.
Mm,
Changing the environment, well, it may help, but temporarily. But if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not doing things that are good for your mental health, if you're not exercising to keep your body happy and your hormones in balance and your endorphins up, if you're not eating well, all of those things that give you the opportunity to then go out and enjoy life, if you're not doing those now, moving to a new place is probably not going to force you to do those things unless you move to somewhere that only serves organic food and someone,
yeah.
forces you to exercise or something. Like moving to the islands would probably give you that kind of lifestyle because you've just don't have any of the fast food options and things.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to move somewhere, like if you move from Auckland to London, you'll find that you'll be eating shitty food that you've grabbed for £1 from Greg's, and you'll probably feel worse because it rains all the time and it's cold in winter and it's going to snow and be sludgy for Christmas. You're going to miss the Pahurakawas. And it's like, is that actually going to make your life better, or are you just trying to run away from where you're at now? I don't know.
That's
That's
really
just how I
powerful.
see it.
No, no, that's really philosophical way of thinking because and it's so true. Like if moving, you have problems within and you move, it won't fix them. And it's definitely something. It's a mindset, right? It's a
Mhm.
gratitude experience, and maybe like we can argue that right now it's probably not like at all the situation you want to be in New Zealand. Like you understand that opportunity, like you don't enjoy life, but it's not because it's just you. It's because opportunity here is very scarce. You haven't found a partner, you haven't had any good friends, and that just by moving into an area that has more people and you have the mindset to go and meet and enjoy your time, then yeah, I can definitely agree that that will improve your life. But so true. Like, consider why you're moving. And for all of the things we talked about, which was career opportunities, the work-lifestyle balance, the finance, the family and social ties, and I guess, yeah, what like what do you want to do with your future? At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
it's the world is small and life is short. So I am, even though this whole podcast we seem to be on the side of stay in New Zealand. I would like to end definitely with the fact that you must go overseas because it is the only way to truly educate yourself about the world. You can it's the
Absolutely.
only way. It's the greatest form of education. So why don't we like do one point so we don't look biased on why we should go overseas, Caitlin? That's mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, absolutely. Moving overseas or even just doing some extensive travel more than just a couple of days, like
Yeah.
that party Kontiki isn't going to do it for you. I'm sorry. Being hungover in every city you visit is not the way to do proper soul searching travel. But if you go and spend a few weeks backpacking, or even if you are doing one of those bus tours, do one that you might have some sober days so you can actually meet some of the locals and experience the way that they live their lives, especially if you're doing it with friends, and you get to build and work on those social relationships at the same time and build those memories. Those are things that are going to enrich your life, but also open your mind up to the ways that other people in the world might live. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. And definitely I think like if you're in an industry that is highly skilled and is potentially not hiring as much, like we mentioned nurses before, we've talked about software engineers and things. Sales and stuff is a massive one as well. You can really go and make money overseas. And even if you go for a couple of years and you go, yeah, I'm going to go save my money, then I'm going to decide what I want to do. And it might be that you come back to New Zealand and buy a house. That's what a lot of people did during COVID.
Totally.
When things got a bit tough overseas, they came back. But I would say like don't leave just because you think New Zealand sucks. Leave because
Yeah,
you
I
think
totally agree.
moving is going to actually enhance your life in some way, is I guess, yeah, that's the point
Yeah.
I want to make.
No, I love that. And New Zealand does not suck. And if you have to, yes, we may not have enough people in the cities during the day, and you may not have many things to do, but if you really go experiencing the opportunities, you will find them.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. And
yeah,
speaking of opportunities, we've got some really cool Flint ones coming up, which I'm just going to plug.
good
So,
segue.
I thought so. I'm proud of that one. So, the first thing that we've got coming up, or the next thing I should say, is actually a TUANZ event. So, the Tech Users Association of New Zealand. I always question whether I get the acronym right. In Auckland, they're hosting an after five on Tuesday, the 23rd of July, all about AI and the future of telecommunications. So that's one that I'm going to try and get along to if I can. Derek, you'll probably be there as well, being our AI guru in the Flint team. I think it's free for Flint members. You just need to sign up online. And yeah, hopefully we'll see some people there. Other than that, we've got our Tech Users Summit in September, so a couple of months away still. And that's a full day in Auckland City where you can hear from a vast array of people at the top of their game in the New Zealand technology space. The Flint team is also going to be hosting a session, I believe, at the
Yeah.
end of the day at about 3 or 4 p.m., but we'll be able to put more details out about that as they come. And finally, I just want to give a little shout out and a big welcome to our recently opened Queenstown chapter of Flint. So they had their first event, I think, last month and had a good 20 odd people attend. And so we're so excited to see how Queenstown grows as a little budding tech hub as it is, but also with the Flint team. So if anybody is located in Queenstown or even in and around the bottom of the South Island. Obviously, we've got our Christchurch team as well, but Queenstown is there for you to start connecting with other future leaders in the technology space. So hopefully you can get along to some events there. Keep an eye out on our LinkedIn page, or you can go to the Flint page on the TUANZ site to find out more details about how you can join or how you can get involved.
Awesome. Yeah, stay connected, team. And thank you for the conversation, Caitlin.
Absolutely, Derek. We'll talk again soon.
Awesome.